real question isn't how much I can fit in, but it's actually how can I fit in what matters most to me. Now, all of us get 24 hours a day. We will never have more time than that because guess what? None of us is more special than the person next to us. 24 hours is it. So this is not about gaining more time. It's about gaining more energy. And that is what I'm here to talk to you about today. Because you can fit that in. And when you do, everything changes for the better. But guess what? Fitting it in is not to be done in the ways that you've been told to. It's not to be done in the ways that you've learned. It's not to be done in the ways that society has ingrained into us. So let's talk about what actually happens when we don't fit in what fuels us. So the myth of doing it all and having it all is something that I know far too well because I lived a life that was based solely on performance, solely on how can I show up in the ways that I think I'm expected to everywhere that I go. I was a chronic people pleaser, everything for everyone at the expense of myself. Raise your hands if anyone knows what that's like. Yeah, I can see so many hands out there. I was also someone who was what I call the queen of self-sabotage. I was very good at beating myself up every day in order to try to drive myself into a state of being that achieved more. If I could create motivation based on fear, based on the way I talked to myself, based on the way I treated myself, then guess what? I will have it all, I will do it all, and it will somehow seem perfect. That is not reality. What happens is that this is our reality. The modern day struggle is real. If you look at so many of these words in capital letters and you read through them, I almost guarantee that your bodies will start reacting to those words. You might feel a pit in your stomach. Your shoulders might start to rise. Maybe your blood starts to boil and you feel like you're getting flushed or your hands are getting clammy. We live in this modern state of chronic mental overload and stimulation. We have this boulder on our heads, and this is our world today. But what we don't have to do is make that our consistent state of being. Now, as someone who was in their mid-30s with 2 young children, a corporate executive in a very high-stakes, high-profile role at a Fortune 140, I will tell you, I hit what I would call that breaking point. But my belief is that we don't have to get to that point in order to choose better. Why let ourselves get to that point where resentment is leaking out sideways and we make snarky comments at the barista or the person that cuts us off on the road or our children or our spouses? Why let ourselves neglect what we actually want to fuel us, so much so that we just put ourselves out in the world for everything else? Because that's what I did. Like I said, everything for everyone at the expense of my own well-being and my own joy. That state of disconnection is not good for anyone. We've been running this same program, this same piece of software for a very long time. Move faster, do more, hustle harder, achieve, achieve, achieve. There is nothing wrong with achievement, but it's when achievement is done at the expense of your own alignment that it becomes problematic. Because here's what happens. This is called the stress arc. Some of you may have seen this in business school, maybe in undergrad. This is the reality of our lives. You see at the far right corner, in the red is burnout, exhaustion, irritability, all of the emotions you can imagine in that range of the spectrum that would equal the energy of what it means when you become so pressured that you are stressing yourself out. Now, a little hidden point in this slide is that stress occurs when perceived pressure on an individual exceeds the ability to maintain resilience, the ability to bounce back. Perceived pressure. Now, that modern day struggle I showed you, like I said, it's real, but how we are perceiving our own realities is a direct reflection of our own nervous system. So if you are stressing yourself out because you are trying to cram everything you can into a day, a week, a month, a year, you're trying so hard to follow that linear path. You're trying so hard to make your plans happen exactly like you laid out. They don't, and that's okay. We have to give ourselves grace because, as Mark Twain says, I have lived through some terrible things in my life, some of which actually happened. This is, to me, very funny and also very fitting for this talk. How many things actually happen in our heads that are just false? And when you are not taking care of you because you're not fitting in the things that matter to you, whether that is self-care, whether that is connections with your friends or your family or your colleagues, whether that is your own spiritual practices, whatever that is that matters to you, if you put those things on the back burner and say, you know what, tomorrow I'll get to that, next week I'll get to that, I'll wait for the right time to fill myself back up. That state of depletion serves nobody. You cannot serve from an empty vessel. And when you try to, your mindset will change. Just like it can change for the worse, it can change for the better. And that's what I want you to really hone in on today, is that change within you is an inner game. It is for you to own, it is for you to run, it is for you to operate. If you don't, if you let yourself get into that perpetual state of stress, into that chronic mental overload, if you're not refueling yourself along the way of your achievements and of your success endeavors, then your nervous system will go into fight, flight, or freeze. You will have this heightened internal chaos within you, or you will have this heightened internal rigidity. And we all know what it's like to either feel that way or to be surrounded by people who are very chaotic and frantic. Their energy just feels like it's all over the place. Or they're extremely rigid and they have no flexibility or adaptability. And there's no way that they're ever going to listen to a word you say. None of us want to behave that way, and we don't want to move through life that way. If you want to move through life with a growth mindset, with the ability to be curious, with the ability to regulate yourself and to have a nervous system that isn't always amped up and fighting against exactly what you're trying to go after in your life, this is an inside game. And most of us aren't doing anything wrong. We're just running on some code we did not consciously write, but you can rewrite that.